And welcome to the Chief Meta Chicks podcast. Jac Phillips, great to have you with us today.
Woohoo!
So, Jac, let's kick off. We'd love to learn a little bit more about your leadership and business ownership journey and the story behind your success. Can you give us a bit of background about what you were doing before you decided to go out on your own and what gave you the idea and the courage to have a crack?
Thank you, Nikki. It's an absolute privilege and honour to join you on this podcast today. So thank you for inviting me on. Look, I've been around. I've had around about 16 different jobs in about 5 different industries across 4 different regions. So it's been quite an adventure. My first serious job was in the media, in radio, as an on-air announcer in the late 80s in New Zealand. And from then till now, I have spent more than 20 years in corporate across advertising, finance, banking, technology. And my last role, up until just a couple of years ago, was in global digital payments with a brand I'm sure you've heard of called Visa. Marketing was my area of expertise, my wheelhouse, or my jam, as they say in the US. And I loved unlocking the potential of others. So I started leading marketing teams and marketing functions quite early in my career. And that was purely a passion play. I wasn't trained to be a leader. It was that I liked people. I seemed to be able to get results from people, but I actually genuinely and authentically loved working with and helping others, I guess. It was during my last regional role at Visa that I realised my success in leading teams was because I was an impactful coach. You might have heard of that term, leader as coach. And they say to be a great coach is to be a great leader, and to be a great leader is to be a great coach. I sincerely believed back then, and I still believe this today, that all people are talented, yeah? And a leader's role is to unlock this talent. I was given an executive coach in my time at Visa in the leadership team. So it was around 3 years ago that I knew that I actually wanted to become an executive coach. That's what I wanted to do next, because I could see what I was doing and how that was making a difference. And I figured that I could do that for a lot more people on a lot bigger scale to help others lead well. I became the best boss I've ever had in 2021, and I kicked off my coaching business.
And I'm very pleased that you did, because for those that are listening that aren't aware, Jac Phillips was my executive coach and was, a key driver around giving me the confidence to, give Chief Meta Chicks a crack and bring it to life. And of course was the first one I tapped to say, I would love you to be a part of this. So yes, very, very pleased that you did choose that career path, Jac, because, you've helped me deliver something that I'm truly passionate about and that, is turning into quite a success. So enormous thanks. So, Jac, you've been going for about 3 years in your own business now. Where did you go to start? Because new business, when you start a new business, so many people that we talk to and we coach, we sort of say, land, have a bit of a pot of money to keep you going, and then, land a client that you can really kickstart your business with. How did you go about it? Did you have a foundation client?
I didn't, Nikki. I honestly went out on a whim, if you will, but I have a large network, and you yourself know how this works. Yeah, we are women in leadership. We have been around for a while. We're sometimes considered of a mature age. I like to refer to myself.
I was going to say, don't call us old.
I like to refer to myself as an ageless progressive. But my point is, I have met and worked with and connected with and done business with a lot of people. Not just in Australia, but way more broadly than that, in New Zealand, in the US, in Europe, and definitely across Asia Pacific. So I guess I went into my business with confidence that my network and I guess my personal brand would help me achieve some form of start. I didn't just rely on hope as a strategy, because it's not. So I actually thought to myself, what do I need to give this a really good go? And I thought, I need to give it a year. I had enough income that would allow me to, I guess, test or experiment my business in the year, but it wasn't a lot. So I really went into it with self-belief and confidence, And that's been honed over years and years and years. And I guess my timing was right because I felt confident enough to do it based on my network, based on my reputation, based on also what I had learned and also what I had studied and actually became. So I backed myself, and I really didn't think I had anything to lose. I said to myself, and it's something I coach on all the time with all of the people I work with, what is the worst that can happen? So in my case, setting up a coaching business, it would have been not getting enough clients to coach. So my options would have been to return to corporate life and work for someone else again, which would have actually been okay. If that's my worst case scenario, and I really enjoyed my corporate career, then I didn't actually have a lot to lose. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk us through your first year because, as we know, the first
Mm.
year of business, you're riding the highs and lows. We're coaching many of our members through those highs and lows
Mm.
and helping to keep them focused and helping them to set some targets so that they can, manage and go after their cash flow. Talk us through your first year. How was that for you? And were there moments of, paranoia and panic or was it all pretty cruisy?
Look, nothing is ever cruisy. I was putting myself out on a limb, but again, I go back to my network. I also was very active on LinkedIn. I've always been fairly consistent on LinkedIn. Clearly, when you are working for a large corporate, you're representing that brand as your full-time role. So whilst I was active on LinkedIn, I was doing it on behalf of Visa, or I might have been doing it on behalf of IBM or a bank, or depending on who I was working with. But once I left, I recognized that that platform was such an opportunity to remain connected, grow my network, but also tell people what I was now doing. And that helped me spread or amplify my brand. I set up a website. It was a very simple website. I did that through Shopify. I've got an awesome daughter who also works in marketing. She helped me with my Shopify website. We set it up very fast. I used testimonials from people that I had coached. I'd coached them pro bono, or I'd coached them in my roles as leaders. And of course, I'd started to coach some people and was doing that as part of my corporate, I guess, confirmation, because what I did whilst I was working at Visa coaching my team, I went and did a qualification through the Australian Institute of Professional Coaches, because I figured if I was going to give this a go, then I needed a qualification behind me, and I wanted to work, I guess, with an education provider who was of global standards and aligned to global standards, and the Australian Institute of Professional Coaches was. So I did those things. I built the brand. I spoke to anyone I could. When I started getting clients coming in, and I knew a few people that obviously knew a few people, referrals started to happen. I then asked them for testimonials. I started to ask them for referrals. So the business has built quite quickly in the couple of years that I have been going. So I haven't had any, oh shit, what am I doing moments yet, but that's not to say that I won't. And I guess how I prepare for that is I'm looking at myself as having a portfolio career. So I want to generate different income streams. I don't want to be reliant on just one. And I'm going to talk about this more because I know you've got some other questions that I think will be more relevant when I expand on this. But to give you an example from the portfolio perspective, I'd also wanted to join boards for a very long time. Most of my career I have sat on not-for-profit boards, skilled volunteering, giving back in some way using my marketing skills or my networks or my experience. I knew that I had done that for a long time. I knew that if I also went out and started actively pursuing paid boards, I might have a good opportunity with those. And in my first year, I got one paid board, and in my second year, I had a second. So I've got an income stream that comes from two paid boards. I've got an income stream that comes from coaching. And I'm also starting to see different income streams that actually sit within particularly the coaching, because with coaching, there's also workshops for organizations. There's also leadership assessments. There's so many other things that you can do that aren't purely one-to-one coaching. So your income generation opportunities start to expand. And I think that's a really exciting thing for me and a real opportunity for anyone going into business. How do I leverage what I'm doing so it's broader than just one income stream?
Brilliant. Yeah, because the coaching space, I know, just from my previous role, I would get sort of hit up on LinkedIn regularly by lots of coaches. And it's really difficult for coaches to cut through if you're not getting that referral. So, it's amazing for me looking at what you've achieved in a short period of time in terms of building your business, because I know it's a very competitive market out there. Do you think your marketing background and expertise has given you that edge in terms of positioning and branding and getting your brand out there?
It's a great question. It would have to. I'm totally leveraging 25 years of what I know. I'm staying totally relevant with what's going on with technology. I leverage channels, Instagram, Twitter, and X, less so these days, but certainly LinkedIn, and I write a post a day, sometimes 2 posts a day. I set aside time because I love writing, and I share stories. I share stories about mostly my own experience, examples, things that have worked, things that haven't. The coaching of so many great leaders like yourself bring new insights every single day and help me stay, I guess, tapped in to the zeitgeist, to what's going on culturally, whether it be throughout COVID with remote working. So I take those insights. I think about the stories I'm getting. Obviously, I never share anyone's information. That's very confidential between the coachee and myself. But I'm able to actually share and amplify a whole lot of things that resonate with people, and particularly on a platform like LinkedIn, where professionals are, if you start to build a following based on storytelling and what you can offer as advice, what you can offer based on your experience, things that actually resonate, people really engage with it. They also share with their own networks. They also comment. And so from that, you start to build this brand. And of course, you must have a website. You have to have your shingle somewhere so that people can actually feel that they're getting to know a little bit more about you and what's behind you. Those things and that marketing certainly has helped me, but also my reputation. When I coach somebody, I give everything. I really do. Success, their success is my success.
I know.
And it doesn't just stop with the coaching. I access my networks for them. I send them thought leadership. I certainly go between advisory and coaching depending on what they need at the time. So I give my all because I love what I do and I believe everybody has potential. So I think those things combined have really helped me build a brand that might be a little bit more unique, or certainly a little bit more prolific than if you were just purely coaching and not maybe amplifying what you're doing as much.
Yeah. And what do you think you learned in your career prior that's helped you really set up for success in your own business?
Yeah, great question. Look, so many learnings. In fact, I think this. My personal philosophy is if you're not winning, you're learning. And I haven't always won, so my learnings are immense. Throughout my career, I've experienced both awesome leadership and also bullshit leadership. And you learn a lot from both. Who you are and what you value. Yeah? Who you are and what you value. You and I know this. So I guess if I had to synthesize, what are my key learnings? There's probably 3 key lessons on my journey. The one is self-awareness. Yeah, it is the key to personal and professional growth. The better you know yourself and how you show up for others, how others perceive you, the better you will perform, influence, and be able to bring others along with you. So self-awareness is the first key lesson. The second key lesson, which is entirely relevant and related to self-awareness, is feedback. It's a gift. Ask for it regularly. It's critical to self-awareness. Knowing your strengths and the unique value that you bring to a business means that you can align your roles accordingly. And of course, there's always areas of development, things that we can do better. Don't ever shy away from that. There's no perfect. There's progress. Find out from others. What do you do that shits them, that you're totally unaware of? Figure out what that is. And if you can learn that,
Love it.
My list was long. And it isn't always fun to know that, but self-awareness gives you choice and you can actually change. And the third thing, what did I say? Self-awareness, feedback. The third one, this is you, reinvention. It's the only strategy today. Nobody can predict the future. and it's changing fast. Industries will rise and fall, and change will accelerate. Yeah. The only way forward is to be flexible, upgrade your mind, upgrade your skills, continually reinvent yourself. If you do that, you will absolutely remain relevant. In fact, you may even create the future. And I think that's really exciting.
Indeed, it is. So, on that, what didn't you know that you didn't know? And how did you learn on the fly and plug those gaps? Because I think we all have blind spots, but the most important thing is to try to tap into what you don't know. And then when you're in business, there's so much that you don't know yet. So it's a really interesting space and mindset to tap into. Were there any key things for you?
Oh, every single day. There's a gap I recognise. We're all growing. We don't stop growing. When I think back, it's a great question, Nikki. When I was in the early stages of my marketing career, I was working for an agency in Sydney. I was around 29 years of age, and I was actually leading a function. It was a lot of responsibility. And I realised right then at 29, thank goodness, so quite young, no matter how much I worked, day and night, weekends, early or late, I would never, ever be on top of everything. And I like to be on top of everything. So what that taught me was I needed to prioritise. I wasn't curing cancer at the agency. It was very much about perspective. And so I became very, very comfortable with setting boundaries. Yeah. Rest and rejuvenation was critical. Weekends had to become sacred. Work was work and not my life. So what that taught me, and what I've actually held on to this day, is I do handle stress for the most part quite well. And I've never defined myself by my job. I love lifestyle. I take a holiday every 2 months in this role. And I do that with absolute joy, and it brings me huge amounts of creativity because I step away. If I had to define my successes, it's never been my work. It's the 2 children that I've helped raise into awesome young adults and this wonderful lifestyle I have. That to me is success. And what am I doing for others? So I guess it's being able to handle stress well, look at the perspective, and recognize that you should never define yourself by your job or your business. Yes, it's important and you're passionate about it, but that's just one part of who you are.
Yeah, it's so important. And I think, you touched on something around your weekends being sacred. I've always adopted that strategy myself too, particularly after I had kids. I was not going to work on weekends, and an environment where we were pitching for new business regularly, weekends were off limits for me. That was definitely a no-go zone because that needed to be sacred for the family.
I love that. And I love your commitment to your health and well-being and your fitness and the things that you do around your triathlons and your running and your swimming and your cycling and the joy that that brings you, which has nothing to do with your work, and your commitment to that. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, well, I think, we all have, in fact, I wrote a piece on this that I got, quite a lot of commentary and engagement with on LinkedIn recently, where I talked about what that is for me. And, that's my, for many people, they have downtime. My downtime is when I'm exercising. That's when my brain clears and everything comes to me. That's how I process stress. It's how I would always prepare for a big pitch. I'd always go for a run, beforehand, because I'm awake, I'm alive, my brain's working, I'm creative, I'm engaging, and it just works. So, that for me is what created, I wouldn't call it work-life balance. It could easily tip to burnout when you're trying to burn the candle at both ends. But, that was always my coping mechanism. And, some people do yoga. For me, I need to go for a hard run. That's just the way I'm wired.
And what you're doing is pumping oxygen to your brain. So you're probably never more creative or never more reflective than when you're exercising. What an awesome compliment to being successful.
Yeah, it's funny. I was swimming with some of my training buddies on Saturday morning, and it was quite a long set, and it was broken into some really hard 50s and then some longer sort of 400s and even an 800. And And I was talking to one of my training buddies and I said, oh, I just love swimming. It's where I can just relax in my mind. I solve all my business problems. And he said, good God, I can't even breathe. How can you think about anything? And I said, well, maybe not for the 50s, but certainly for the longer stuff.
Yeah.
But we all have,
Love
we
it.
all have the things that help us function at an optimal level. And that's certainly mine. So back to your business. When we start a new business, it doesn't always end up being what we had thought it would be when we first started out. How much has your business pivoted and evolved since you started?
This is a great question. It's pivoted a bit, and I'm just in the absolute midst of something really exciting. So we start with the executive and leadership coaching, and I've got the boards, and I'm doing a bit of marketing advisory as well. So those are the three key income streams. What I'm finding from the coaching, and I touched on this before, is that the executives that I'm coaching are saying, can you come and help my team? Can we run a workshop on culture? Can you help me with active listening? Some of the things you're talking to me about, self-awareness and feedback, I'd like you to work with the team. So I'm starting to work more with teams from a workshop perspective. That's really exciting. And it was only individual coaching I initially kicked off doing. Speaking. I've got years of experience, but I'm also learning and studying and supporting and gaining data and insights and research and learnings from the coaching and also from my boards that I'm actually able to do keynote speaking. I'm able to come in and hopefully inspire. I run lunch and learns virtually for a number of organizations. They pay me to do these things, whether it be around confidence for women, whether it be around emerging leaders, or it might be something around emotional intelligence. Whatever it is, I'm starting to do more and more talking, workshops. And something that I am just about to engage in and have already started talking to a publisher is a book. From that would be the opportunity to speak globally on an international stage. So there's so many things that I can be doing that actually starts to make this business broader and way more impactful than I initially thought it would be. So it's already pivoting and evolving right now.
And I was on your pilot executive women leadership retreat, which I must say was absolutely amazing, and just connecting with some amazing women. Is that part of your future plan to continue with that? Because I know we all really just that moment to step back and then, share challenges and share business ideas and collaborate with others just energized all of us. It was one of the most amazing things that couldn't have come at a better time for me and all the others on it, I might add.
That's a great reminder, and I hadn't forgotten it. I'm just very, very selective, and I curate those retreats. So I make sure the women I bring together are going to add value to each other as much as they're going to gain value from the experience. I also believe it's so important that how I curate it, what is needed at the time. And when I pulled together that first retreat that you were on, and yes, there are certainly more planned, I knew exactly the women I wanted to bring together, and I knew how they would help each other. I also knew what they needed. So the answer is yes, and that was a great example, and I can't believe I forgot about it in my conversation with you, but that's very much part of, again, evolving and pivoting what was an initial executive and leadership coaching business.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think back to that with such fond memories, and I believe I made lifelong friendships out of that. So yeah, it was an incredibly special and beneficial time, and I think your curation was spot on. It was so good. So another question for you: what excites you the most about your journey? I think I know the answer to this, and I'll certainly give you my thoughts of what I'm excited about your journey. But what excites you?
The unknown, and anything is possible. I'm hardwired for happiness. Yeah. So I look for joy and fun, and I look for opportunity. Very rarely do I say no to something. I mentioned before, reinvention is the only strategy because nobody can predict this future. Yeah. And the only way forward is to be flexible, to upgrade ourselves. Adaptation requires real courage. And I'm a fairly fearless person because I rely on me and I can trust me. So I back myself. I don't think I'm going to let me down. I have an optimistic mindset, and I absolutely love helping others, because what happens when you help others? Reciprocity. They help you. So I'm excited about what I don't know is around the corner. Yes, I'm definitely crafting and strategizing a whole range of offshoots, the book, the speaking, the workshops, the retreats. But what don't I know yet? What's out there that I could say yes to or that I could learn about that I would also be able to get involved with and make a difference? That's the stuff that excites me, what I don't know.
Yeah. The thing for me is you've always been such an incredible champion for women. Yes, you absolutely love helping people, but I think, you are so driven by helping women step up and actually claim their spot in an organization and not hold themselves back. So, talk to us a little bit more about that. What does that come from a place of recognizing the potential of women or experiencing being held back yourself in your career or wanting gender, pay equality? Where does all that come from for you?
I think it's all of those things. My mother was 17 when I was born, and in a time when to be pregnant and unmarried, let alone to go ahead and have the baby and to blatantly have the baby and be a very proud single mother, she had the support of her own parents, which made a massive difference. So she was lucky in that instance, but she had to be tough. She learned a lot from that experience. She ended up marrying the boy that got her pregnant, my father. They've been married 58 years or something. I mean, they're incredible, madly in love to this day. So she's had one lover all her life, and yet she always encouraged me to stand up for yourself. Don't let anyone else make decisions for you. Don't, and if you make a mistake, it's okay. You'll get through it. And again, one of my coaching philosophies, and I think I've told you this, when we've been deep in challenging situations or people that have been really unkind or unfair to us, particularly in the workplace, will it matter in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months? Yes, it's likely to matter in 5 minutes, 5 hours, and even potentially in 5 days. But I guarantee in 5 weeks, there's probably 15 other things that would have happened. This ability to be resilient means that we can get back up and use the learnings to become better and to become stronger. I love seeing women grow their confidence. And every female I know comes from a place of confidence. They may not back themselves like they should, which is why a great coach is important. But if they're in the right environment, surrounded by the right people, whether that be at home, and I've always said, don't just choose the person you go and work for. Don't just choose your leader. Choose your partner in life wisely. I've chosen an awesome partner who is as excited about my success and has made sure that I could focus on that. There's no way I would be where I am today without his support, without my kids' support, recognizing that mum sometimes won't be there for them because she's traveling for work. But that doesn't mean to say I don't love them, and it doesn't mean to say it's forever. It's just for that moment. So I guess personally, yes, gained a lot from my working life and also my personal life. But every female I know has incredible skills, and they are the skill of caring. And the sooner that we can actually commercialize caring, because there's such a need for it in the workplace right now, leadership is about caring for others. That is the leadership that is most effective. So I want to make sure that I can unlock as many women that I know, their potential to go and do that, whether that's leading themselves in their own business from an entrepreneurial perspective, or whether it's leading teams or leading a function or leading a large brand or business, because I know they can all do it. They just need good people around them.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. I obviously know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you knew what you do now, would you do it all again?
Absolutely. In fact, I might have done it earlier. I was on the gravy train. We've all been on the gravy train, right? So I was well paid. I worked for bloody good organisations. I really did. They took pay equality seriously. They took flexibility seriously. They were good people I worked for, and with along the way there've been some doozies, but generally I have been incredibly lucky and privileged to work in awesome organisations. And as a result, I got paid well. I also got bonuses. I got equity. I got a whole lot of things that you start to rely on because you can bank them, if you will. In my first year, I had replaced my corporate income that I had just recently left. In my second year, I had replaced not just my income, but also my bonus. I never thought in 100 years or 1,000,000 years I would have been able to do that so quickly. And I'm only just getting warmed up.
That's
So
amazing.
would I do it again? Absolutely, I'd do it again. And it's never just about the
Hell
money,
yes.
right? It's not just about the money at all. I've got to eat and I've got to pay a mortgage, but it's not just about the money. To think I get paid to do this work that I do and to live this life that I live, oh my goodness. Why didn't I do it sooner?
Amazing. Yeah, and like you touch on a really important piece there. It's joy. It's enjoying what you're doing. If going to work every day is an absolute grind, why do it? If it's not making you happy, or if it's making you mentally unwell, then it's not the place to be. Like you, I was really fortunate. I loved all of my roles. I loved all of the organizations that I worked for and the people that I led, and I got so much joy out of that. So while there was a great salary that went alongside it, it was also the love of the organization and the passion that kept me there, and probably kept me there longer than I thought I would stay, because I really loved the people that I worked with. But then I think when you find that inner drive and passion of, what really makes you tick, then it's a really easy choice to step away from that lovely, safe corporate salary and all the bells and whistles that go with it.
Totally right. And there's something about being your authentic self, yeah? I always made the people I worked for nervous, understandably. I'm not your typical corporate. I'm not too buttoned up. I'm a bit of a loose cannon, and that brings a lot of nerves.
I think that's why I love you so much.
And whilst it's really important to be respectful, to be self-aware, to be appropriate, and I learned a lot about those things, which have served me very well, there were often things I could not say or do that I really wanted to, that I thought would bring the organisation and the leadership and the teams and the products and the services success, but I couldn't. To be able to go and do that for yourself and not have to hold back is incredibly liberating. And the fruits of that authenticity are there. So it's the right thing to do if you can find what it is you want to do and get yourself around the right people and give it a crack. What's the worst that can happen?
Yep. Love it. Totally agree. So, what advice do you have for aspiring women entrepreneurs who are just starting out their journey?
Well, get your tribe around you, your life partner, he, she, they, them, the dog, the cat, whatever it is, whoever it is, they've got to be on board. They've got to be there for you, not knocking you, not holding you back, not filling you with fear. So that's number one. Number two is get yourself into the Chief Meta Chicks universe. Get yourself an executive or leadership coach. Surround yourself with awesome people, not all women. We need men in our world too. Men hold so much power. We definitely need to be leveraging that still. So surround yourself with good people, okay, and ask them questions and ask for their help. Women often don't ask for help. Oh, they won't. They'll be too busy. They won't want to help me. I have never knocked back anyone who's wanted my help. And if I have, it's because I couldn't help them for whatever reason, but I guarantee I referred them to somebody else who could. People help each other. And if somebody doesn't help you, then that's one person. Go to somebody else. So surround yourself with great people, ask for help, and just have a go. What's the worst that can happen?
Yep, 100%. And my final closing question, what made you want to be a Chief Meta Chicks leader, and what are you enjoying most about it?
You planted the seed.
Oh.
You and I were the early. I was the recipient of your early ideas and insights. You told me about them, and I thought, wow, that is an awesome initiative. That is exactly what the world needs right now, and more women in business, and supporting more women in business, and allowing us all and I'm talking about the Chief Meta Chicks as much as I am the women that we are serving, allowing us all to lean in and embrace Web3 and the metaverse and to learn together and to hold each other's hands and figure this stuff out and leverage each of our unique skills. Why would I not want to be involved? And I'm having an awesome time with the women, both my colleagues that are surrounding this awesome initiative, Chief Meta Chicks, that you've brought on board, and learning from you as well, and watching your fire and your ambition and your passion come to life. But also these women that I'm coaching through Chief Meta Chicks, they are amazing. Catherine, Chiquita, these women are next gen. They are incredible. I'm learning so much from them, as much as I'd like to think that I might be supporting them. So
Yeah,
so
isn't that
much to learn
interesting?
about it.
Because yeah, I hear so much of the same where, we're, even though we're leading and coaching, we're learning as well. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jac. It's been an absolute delight. I love having you as one of my Chief Meta Chicks leaders. You were the one that I planted the seed with, and you were the one that really opened your network so that I could really research this space and speak to some people who were active in the space and learn before I took the leap. And it was invaluable. And I wouldn't be where I am today, and Chief Meta Chicks wouldn't exist if it wasn't for you. So I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful. I love having you as part of the team, and I love the value that you bring to our community. So thank you so much. Really enjoyed having you on the Chief Meta Chicks podcast as well.
Right back at you, sister. Thank you. Long live Chief Meta Chicks.
Thanks.